at a time when a lot of people are skeptical, and perhaps even more skeptical. You are more bullish?
In terms of the economy, Andrew, the markets?
I was going to start with this idea of crypto, Bob, just in terms of how you think about it, because I think there's a lot of people who are remarkably skeptical. You've been a long-time bull of sorts, or at least excited about the technology piece of it.
It's a very, very broad term, crypto. So, as you know, we've been working with and investing in Circle for quite a while, and that's really about financial technology, about digital currencies, about blockchain technology, all three of which we are very, very positive on. You know, to put it simply, do we believe that there's going to be a digital version of the US dollar over time? Absolutely. Do we believe that the best way to develop that is to have the central bank do it or have the private sector do it? We believe strongly in what Circle is doing, the most conservative, the most embracing of regulation. A dollar is a dollar. Backing the stablecoin has been proven day in and day out over a couple of years, and they maintain 45 billion in outstanding. So, Andrew, we think that there will be real winners in this space, but crypto is a very, very broad term. Our focus is very much on the technology of blockchain and the excitement of having a digital version of the major fiat currencies.
Right. But in terms of, if we were to be talking about this in 2 or 3 years from now, given all the skepticism, given where the prices are of a lot of these various coins and the like, what does this space look like to you?
So it's going to look very, very different. And I think the significant thing, Andrew, we have to get over is what has happened with FTX. It reminds me a lot of what happened with Enron, right? You had a Tiffany-type brand. FTX was like the go-to brand in the crypto space. It had incredibly smart people. It had taken very, very large, very illiquid, and frankly, very bad positions during the crypto winter. And it had criminal accounting. And I think through all four of those, they're very similar to the situation we had with Enron. And I think as we come out of this, I think there's going to be a lot more focus on things like payments, technology, blockchain. And I think that we really need to get away from what happened during FTX. And to me, the other big lesson in this, Andrew, is offshore versus onshore. Circle operates within the regulatory perimeter of the U.S. FTX was operating in the Bahamas. And I think one of the lessons here has been, you know, you and I talked about this during the financial crisis. Strong banks want strong regulation. We saw that so clearly during the financial crisis. Well, strong firms in the crypto space want strong regulation. And I think part of that is operating within the U.S. perimeter, U.S. regulatory perimeter.
But do you see big banks, for example, big financial institutions investing in the world of crypto, creating crypto desks and the like, and all of the things that we were talking about over the last, call it 24 to 36 months, as we saw the prices creep up? We saw a lot of big institutions start to talk about it, maybe not do it. What happens now?
I would argue that that investment from the big banks will increase. This is an opportunity for them to get in. But again, crypto is a very, very broad term. I think we saw announcements yesterday from Standard & Chartered that they were expanding their presence in the crypto services that they provide. I think that they were very, very early to provide those kinds of custody services and whatnot. Clearly, JP Morgan has been investing significantly in technology, including blockchain technology. So I think this is a great opportunity for the banks to see this as an opportunity in the areas that they think are important, whether it's custody, clearing, exchanges, or whether it's more around digital currencies and the blockchain technology and DeFi. I think we're going to see a significant increase in investment from the big banks. Absolutely.